Hi, and welcome to the family. Today we're joined again by Rob Radtke in Houston, Texas for the third installment in a short series we're calling On the Radio with Rob. Hi, Rob, and thanks for joining us again. In the last episode, we discussed the difference between simplex and duplex modes, and today we're going to talk about the cutting edge of two-way communication tech and where it's headed in the future. So let's jump right in.
Sure, Mark. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Well, where we are now, we're in the beginning stages of what's called the push-to-talk over cellular or push-to-talk over LTE, which essentially means your cellular networks are the network that you utilize to talk on the two-way device. Now, also what we're leaning into and we're seeing more of is this same technology over Wi-Fi. So it has a Wi-Fi built in. Typically, though, these aren't just standalone. You can buy them and use them anywhere. They work through manufacturers' networks. So if you have a network access fee that you'll pay, but you don't have any of the infrastructure, no repeaters, no towers, none of that. As long as you have a good cellular signal or good Wi-Fi, you have the ability then to talk from coast to coast and even even around the world in some respects. Because what happens is the cellular network, the data network on the cellular side is used for those kinds of communications. What some companies actually are doing, the ones that have larger individual footprints nationwide, is they're creating what's known as private LTE, or their own cellular networks, essentially, that will allow for further encrypted discussions and conversations, because that the communications are on their own private network, and they just buy some tower space on existing cell towers. So really the future of two-way communications in general is really headed toward a networkless network, or you're using the consumer cellular network to access, or the internet, which leads then into the Internet of Things, or IoT universe, which is a little bit outside of the scope of two-way communications, but realistically, it's a strong it's a strong future of what's coming towards us. And it's going to revolutionize two-way communications. Now, that's not necessarily true in public safety, at least not yet, not for mission critical applications, but some things are already happening within the public safety universe that allow officers who are making traffic stops to tap their watch, their smartwatch, that talks back to their computer and lets the dispatchers know that they're on a traffic stop and the physical location for GPS and all of that. And it's also a POC, or LTE, push to talk, is also sort of revolutionizing large fleets, because you can do in a single device what used to take multiple devices for physical location and speed and GPS and even as much as tracking, the word I'm looking for here is inventory. Inventory tracking is available also, and you can unlock and lock certain devices, and certain you can gain access. Access control is available on these networks, and so I mean the real future of two-way communications exists for most folks in the LTE space.
Great. So it sounds like it's a really long-range communications with a lot of extra possibilities that aren't available with standard two-way.
Yes, absolutely. And the biggest thing being distance and the ability to go over a large physical location without having to install networks and the network appliances and create point-to-point wires. You don't have to dig anything. You don't have to put anything up on towers, because the infrastructure already exists, and to a certain degree, and in larger facilities too, like warehouses, large campuses and schools, things like that. Where Wi-Fi has a total coverage, you don't have to include all of these expensive network appliances to do that. But on the other side of that, it does suffer the same problems that cellular networks do. And it can be overwhelmed during large events, which is why the traditional traditional two-way is still a solid investment. But this is really the future, and as the network gets stronger and more resilient to trouble, so too will the push-to-talk over cellular or LTE devices and in that space get stronger and utilized more often.
Thanks, Rob, for that explanation. That sounds like some really helpful technology. But with all these options available to choose from, how would our viewers know which technology is right for their needs?
Well, they can contact me or any of the communication specialists at WarnerFamilyBrands.com, and we can get what their needs are assessed. We can figure out what it is that they need and get the best possible product in their hands to meet those needs.
Well, all right. Thanks again, Rob, and thank you all for watching. That's it for now. Stay tuned for more news and views you can use.